Oh, hello. In today's video, we'll be catching up with the World Championships of Kill Team at the World Championships of Warhammer. So, we have today started the games in the championship bracket. So, for those of you that don't know how it works, on Thursday and Friday, they were playing the pod phase, the group phase. Wasn't able to get a video out on Friday, feeling a bit under the weather. Was working late on Thursday, and honestly, the group phase really hard to cover because BCP and Games Workshop between them don't give you really the information that you want just to know who is coming top of groups. We were following it on the Discord, tracking some of the people that we know and care about and seeing how their games go. But we are now at the point where we've got the championship bracket round one. So we've had the first game of the championship bracket. So going into the championship bracket, there are 16 people who are in contention to become the world champion of Kill Team for this year. And essentially what happens is they play a game, and then there'll be 8 people that are in contention, and then they'll play a game, and then there'll be 4 people in contention, and then tomorrow we'll go into there being the 4 people, they'll play, there'll be 2, and then there'll be the final, and then we will have our world championship winner. Now, technically, the winning country is separate to that, so all the other games and all the other people that have been knocked out still carry on playing, still carry on earning points for their team, so that you'll have a country that is the winner as well. And I don't think that the overall winner necessarily and the country that wins have to be the same. But from my experience, like, nobody cares which country wins. We care about the nationality of the overall winner to some extent, but nobody really cares like which country gains the most points. Like, I know Games Workshop wants it to be a thing, but the thing people remember is who won. So that's really what I'm excited about and what I'm going to be tracking. So these are the people that made the top cut, right? And these are how they were paired off. So Netra from Spain with Legionaries into Jimmy Kelly, who I erroneously said in my last video was American. He's actually Canadian. Really sorry, Jimmy. With Legionaries. Dan Barton, one of the... so Dan famously qualified last year, was only 17. Couldn't go because of like a liability issue with Games Workshop with children, which technically, like, don't call a 17-year-old a child to their face, but, you know, technically, under the law. So he's come this year, bringing Warp Coven. He's goes for a lot of tournaments. I don't think I've never played Dan, but I've seen him like around. I may have played him and been soundly beaten, and I banished it to my memories. Playing Warp Coven. We got Matt Opperman, who's American. I know nothing about Matt. I'm really sorry. That's my lack of information, lack of knowledge about the American kill team scene. Okay, but Plague Marines, really interesting to see the only Plague Marine player that made it through. It kind of remains to be seen whether, you know, everyone's pretty sure that Legionaries, Warp Coven, Inquisition, and Hierotek are like really, really good and in need of a nerf. Do we think that Plague Marines are also in that bracket? Do we think that Void Dancers are also in that bracket, or are they? Is that more of a skill of the pilot and luck of the pod draw? I don't know. Then we've got Matthias. I'm always slated for pronouncing his name wrong, but he is basically the Polish number one. Playing Inquisitorial Agents. Now, to be fair to Matthias, he's always played Inquisitorial Agents. Like, every time I've seen him, at least, I think I've been at least one game at Warhammer World where he'd flown over from Poland. But he always plays Inquisitorial Agents. He's always played them. So, like, he's not chasing the meta. The meta is chasing him. Right, the meta sat down and thought, how can I be more like Matthias, and decided that Inquisitorial Agents were going to be great. So that's what's happening there. He's had a game versus Carlos, right, with his Inquisitorial Agents. So I know who won because this game happened in the past. It was Matthias won that game, and I'm guessing it's just because he has an encyclopedic knowledge of Inquisitorial Agents, right? Because Carlos is also a fascinatingly good player. I've had the pleasure of playing against Carlos. Great guy. Yeah. Then we got George with Warp Coven versus Bart from London playing Void Dance Troop. Now, this game was on the stream, on the Squad Games stream. We're going to talk about it a little bit more in a minute. And I watched most of it, except for when my daughter ran in and determined that we were going to watch cartoons 20 minutes. But yeah, unfortunately, we'll get on to the results in a minute, but it was a really interesting game, really close game, really, really cool, really, really cool. Came down to a couple of really close things. fascinating to watch. Like so different from the what I would consider to be good play of Kill Team. Like they basically would talk out almost the entire turning point before anyone activated, like in terms of ranges and distances, and a fascinating game to watch. Then we got Javier from Spain versus Matt Wilhelm. Again, I'm afraid I know very little about these guys other than it's a legionary versus legionary, right? And then Ace, kill team number 1 at one point. I think currently kill team number 2 or number 3. There was some controversy there with Warp Coven versus Alberto of Kill Team Battle Kit fame with Legionaries. I think rough having to play against one of your countrymen who you've probably played against a lot, like in your first round of the championship bracket. Like I would have assumed that Games Workshop would have done something to modify that, like draw it randomly, but then swap people so they weren't playing into their countrymen. Maybe they think that would be unfair. That would just be my preference. Right, then we got Shane Smith, the one American player that I do know, because Shane is a YouTuber, right? He's Command Point. Used to be called Command Point USA, but I think now that's just Command Point, right? So that is the Shane off Command Point. There are at least 2 different Shanes in America in the Kill Team scene, but that's the one from Command Point. So if you've seen Command Point videos, that's like the big American YouTube channel, and it's the big it's kind of the biggest Discord server as well for Kill Team, I think. So that's that Shane, definitely. And then we've got Guy Barton, who is Dan's dad, but he's a really good Kill Team player in his own right. That's why he's made the championship bracket cut. So also from London, obviously. It'd be weird if he wasn't. And he's running Hyrotech Circle. So again, Hyrotech Circle versus Hyrotech Circle. Interesting. And then at the bottom now we've got John Reese. Can you roll a crit? Or as he's affectionately known on this channel, John from Wales, because he always... even though he plays in the London scene and he lives in London, as far as we know, he chooses to represent Wales because he has Welsh heritage, apparently. Interesting one, because there's no such thing as a Welsh passport, even. You can't have... I don't want to get too far into it, but you can't have Wales on your passport. It's not a function of our constitutional arrangements. Anyway, John from Wales versus Augustin, who is he's like the French number 1, basically, as far as I can gather. He's like the top player in France, maybe. Don't know too much about the French. Weirdly know more about the Spanish scene than I do about the French scene, even though geographically France is closer. What to do? Anyway, who won? So this happened in the past, so we've got the winners here. So really nice to see that Dan and John, we'll say they're both in the UK, right? They won their games. Amazing, good to know. Bart and George, I was watching that one. It was a real nail biter. It came down really, really close. Really sad to see Bart knocked out, not just because of sort of patriotism, but also because it was nice to see the Void Dancer Troop player taking shaking up the meta and being a disruptive force, right? Machuez knocks out Carlos, which is, I mean, they're both really highly skilled players, but if you'd asked me to put money on it, I would probably have I would have said Carlos was probably, I mean, he is the ITC number 1 at the moment, right? So, but Machuez, like I said, he just knows Inquisition backwards, forwards, front to back, so it's not a massive surprise that. And also, he is, in his own right, these are all awesome players. In his own right, he's an awesome player, right? Ace has lost to Albert, which, yeah, okay. Surprising, but yeah, okay, cool. And then Shane, unfortunately, well, fortunately for him, unfortunately for me, an Englishman, Shane knocks out Guy Barton, and John Reese, Can You Roll a Crit, triumphs over Augustin. So that brings us into the round 2, which is just about starting now. Like if I move that window out of the way, the squad game stream, they're literally deploying. So immediately I'm gonna rush this video because I want to watch this game. Immediately if I finish this, I want you to go to the stream in the description, right, and watch the match, because it's going to be Dan Barton versus John Reese are on stream. So for us here in the UK, this is this is a big grudge match, right? This is like a big thing. This is important. So that's amazing, and you can see the other matches that we've drawn. So it's interesting to see that we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 legionary, right? Two Warp Coven, and and then one each of Inquisitorial Agents and Hierotek. So it's pretty clear what the meta is, right? Like, it was cool to see. It was cool to see the bots, Space Clowns being in there for a while, but it's pretty clarified what the meta is going to be. We'll see how it all go, how it shakes out. If I was calling it at this point, I'd be finding it really hard to call. I think it's going to be. Do you know what? Fortunately, Albert and Jimmy are playing each other now, right? And the only reason I say that is that means that we're not going to have 4 Legionary players through to the next round, because that would be that would be tedious. But it really makes you wonder if they hadn't drawn the mirror match, Jimmy and Albert, would they both have won against others? What do I think is going to happen? I think we're going to get. I want Dan to win. Okay, I want Dan to win. But I think maybe at the top tables, Warp Coven are less, because people can play around them. I feel like. I can't call that first match at all. I feel like Crit's probably going to win. I'm cheering for Dan. My heart says Dan. My head says Crit. Right. Machuez probably to win his. Crit, Machuez. And I want Shane to win, because I want it to be a diverse next round. Yeah, and it's probably going to be Crit, one of the other 2 Legionary players in the top game, versus Machuez and either Warp Coven or Hierotek in the yeah. And I bet you any money says it's a Legionaries versus Legionary. No, I don't mean that. I don't actually try and bet me, because it's not a sure thing. But I'm suspicious that we're headed for a Legionaries versus Legionaries final. Like, I think that's just the way the cookie's going to crumble. But yeah, that's and so don't forget, you can go and watch all of this on Squad Games Twitch. I don't even think they know that I'm giving them an advertisement, right? I just want people to be watching and enjoying Kill Team, and that is especially those of us in the UK who perhaps have an emotional interest in seeing who wins out of Dan and John. That'd be really exciting, edge of the seat stuff, right? A little bit of rivalry going on there. That'd be good. That'd be really good. What's up about I was going to do a whole video about the reveal show, and I realised I really didn't care. Loads of the stuff that they've released is really cool. I think that the Age of Sigmar stuff all looks really cool. The Oryx and the Gits, they look really cool. The Krieg look really cool. The Aspect Warriors look really cool. The Empire is mostly old stuff, but I have a big soft spot for the Empire, and I'm really pleased that Nuln are getting to be one of the variant lists in the Almanac, right? The 30k tanks, again, not for. I don't play. Even if I play 30k often, which I don't collect the Solar Auxilia, but they're cool. The Dreadnoughts aren't, right? But I've never liked the Dorado. That's my fault. The big question in my mind is: are we going to see the Lord of the Rings, War of the Rohirrim, or Kill Team Brutal and Cunning in this year? Because just thinking about this logically, right? I'm gonna just have a little look here. I'm gonna go old school here. I'm gonna physically pick up my paper calendar from the wall, right, to help me work this out. So they have now announced the pre-orders they're up currently are for the 7th, Saturday the 7th, right? So they have one more. They have one more release day. We'll find out on Sunday. Whatever they release on Sunday, I think is going to be the last release of before Christmas, right? Because they always give themselves the weekend before Christmas free of new releases, right? Correct me if I'm wrong in the chat. I think because we're currently on maths. It's currently a date. It's currently the 23rd. Okay, so in 2 weeks. Oh, yeah, in 2 weeks on the 7th is when the Underworld's cards and the Warriors of Chaos stuff's coming out, right? So that means yes, whatever they preview on Sunday is the last release before Christmas, I think, because I don't think they'll do anything on the 21st, right? So they've only got the 14th. I don't think, and so on Sunday we must see the Path to Glory Ravaged Coast book if they're going to make good on that. Well, technically they could release it the weekend after Christmas, but I don't think they will. The Path to Glory book, will we see alongside that Brutal and Cunning or The War of the Rohirrim? If I was a gambling man, I would put money on it being The War of the Rohirrim and the AOS book, just because I kind of expect if it was going to be Brutal and Cunning, then people in the Influence program wouldn't be saying, like Andy has said publicly, oh, I don't think it's coming out till after Christmas. And so I think he might have it, or at least have had like a, you're going to get this kind of email, and then he'd be saying nothing. And he wouldn't be saying, oh, I think it's going to be out after Christmas, because he'd know when it was coming out, he wouldn't be able to say anything. So the fact that this is how you have to do it, right? You have to watch these people, right? Andy and Crit and all the others, and it's when they go quiet, because they can't talk about it, but normally they talk about it, right? So as soon as they go quiet, that's when you think, oh, it must be on its way, right? But maybe War of the Rohirrim, if you care about that. I don't care about the... I might have a look at the rules online for the new Lord of the Rings, but I don't really care about the miniatures. I'll watch... The thing is as well, though, this is going to be tied up with the actual release of the animated film, and when's that? Does anybody actually know? But will it come out before? Will it come out after? Games Workshop does mad things sometimes with its release dates. So yeah, that's all I've got to say on the reveals. So I'm going to get back now to watch Crit versus Dan, right? They're still deploying. Yep, I've just got a look there. Live update. They're still deploying. I'm going to turn the sound back on. I'm going to be cheering for Dan. Nothing against Crit, really, but, you know, if he will choose to split the UK, you know, to represent Wales, then I, who am English, will cheer for the man with the English flag next to his name. That's how it works. I'm cheering for the principle of the United Kingdom, right? Okay. Nobody cares. And I'll do my best to come back tomorrow with an update when we've got the... I don't know if I'll stay up long enough to find out who wins this game, but I will do an update tomorrow with the winner of this round and probably the winner of the next round, and probably about this time again, so I'll probably say, look, and this is what the final's going to be, and then it'll be Sunday night, which is school night, and we'll stay up to watch the final. Maybe. Maybe. All right, I'll see you then. I'm looking forward to it. Have a cheery bye. Bye 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 bye. Oh no, a shout out for Compendium Lover. Thanks for the top tier of membership. Nearly forgot. Bye 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 bye.